We are back with Vicki, filmmaker. Vicki, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure as well. Your film, In the Night, I Remember Your Name. We're going to be talking about that today. It's a really lovely, strong piece. Do you mind sharing a little bit about it before we start?
Sure. So it began with my mom, actually. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2005, long time ago. And when I was home, she lives in Ohio. She lived in Ohio. So I didn't get to, I go home to visit frequently. And on one of my visits, she asked me if I would make a documentary about her experience. And it really threw me because I never saw myself as a documentarian, saw myself as a narrative filmmaker and mostly a writer at that, not even a filmmaker. So it was very daunting to me. But of course I said yes, and it was just a matter of filming her life whenever I was home for visits. And then we're all we all work for a living to make our livings, usually outside of filmmaking, right? So all that being said, I didn't have much time to actually edit the film, and I ended up with, oh my gosh, she passed away in 2010. I ended up with 5 years of footage that I had to, and I was grieving, of course. It was very difficult for me. I couldn't even sit down and try to put the film together for like 2 years after she died. And then it was a matter of going through all the footage and trying to find the arc of it. I couldn't figure out how to put this together. What was the central motivating point of the film? I didn't want it to be her living with Alzheimer's, right? Because that wasn't her. She had this whole life before Alzheimer's and even during Alzheimer's. And I finally realized my mother was a woman of faith. She was one of the first female pastors in the 80s. She was a gay rights advocate as a lesbian. But I quickly realized, looking at the footage, her central viewpoint was as a woman of faith. So that's what I took as the viewpoint of this woman who is now grappling with a terminal disease and how it affected her faith. And and that's how I built the story, and ultimately ended up being, I just wanted it to be a testament to her life and to do honor to her advocacy as a gay rights advocate and as a woman of faith. And I really feel like we did that. So that's how we ended up.
I agree with that. And I definitely think he succeeded and really just a wonderful tribute to her spirit and to her life and to what she represented and represents still. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. From a narrative perspective, I think there's such a lesson for writers and filmmakers, storytellers there, because, having so much to say, footage, content,
Yeah.
and not really knowing how to get it, what is there's sort of a Zen kind of thing, story about amazing the king's music stand maker. And the king asked his music stand maker, how is it you're able to make such these beautiful music stand? And he said, well, I go out into the tree and I look around in the forest and I see the music stand and I just carve everything out of it. All the excess, I just get it
Yeah.
rid of it. So that's, the trick is how do you get all the excess and hone in? And what you
Yeah.
said is that you focused in on her central sense of being a woman of faith. That's you hear woman of
Yeah.
color, woman of this, woman of that, man of that. I don't know, but woman of faith, I don't know. So what was her through line? And that through line within the individual is the story. That's the narrative arc that all these other things hang upon. And that's, I think,
Yeah.
a really critical, like, kind of lesson for storytellers. Like, how do we tell our stories and what is the character? Who is the character central. So that's really wonderful. And I also love how you said, your mom um, asked you to do this. And to me, it's funny. I can't help but feeling, I don't know you. We've met today. I don't
Right.
know your mother. We've met virtually through, this time and space of filmmaking, but I can't help getting the feeling that she asked you to do that as a gift to you.
Oh, no one's ever said that before, but that's so lovely to think about it that way. Wow, that's sorry, that just really hit me. That's so powerful.
No, I'm glad.
Um, I never thought about it that way. That would be so lovely to think that she did. Of course, I don't know, but what I do know is that my mom was always my biggest cheerleader, and she was also my travel buddy. We traveled so many places together, and I miss that so much. So now I have her eyeglasses, and whenever I go to a new place, I take her eyeglasses with me, and I set them out in a beautiful place so I can remember her. Um,
Mhm.
but
That's
I
so it is.
love that because her story certainly did enrich me, the telling of it and the trying to make sure I honored her life enriched me, and also pushed me into places I never would have gone if she had not asked me to do that. I learned how to do so many things through her asking me to tell her story. I learned how to direct actors. I came out of my shell. I did things that were previously pretty scary for me. I'm
Yeah,
kind of an introvert,
sure.
and I had to make phone calls, which is terrifying to
Yeah.
me,
You got to
and
ask for
ask
things.
people for things
Right. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And she certainly did bless me with asking me to do this for her. Yes, absolutely.
Well, so, the first question to play forward is where did the inspiration come from in your life? And I think, we've covered a lot of it, but you did say yes. So what made you
Mhm.
say, yes, mom, I'll do it?
Because she was my mom.
You had no choice. I owe you.
I'm not gonna say no.
I owe you.
I had when she asked me, the first thing that popped into my head was, how the heck am I gonna do this?
Right.
I can't hire a crew to follow her around, no way. So no way, it didn't even enter my mind to say no. I was just like, yes,
It's
how are
okay.
we gonna do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second question to play forward was really, the focus on the meaning. Now, as a viewer, you've made the movie, your mom's passed. You said you started in 2005, she passed in 2010. You didn't start the film till 2012. We're, about a little over 10 years out. Let's not be, minced years here.
Right. Yeah.
How do you feel when you watch the movie now? What is the message to you as a viewer?
Oh boy, I would say the biggest gift that my mom gave me was her faith in God. That has been, and I have not always been a believer. I would, what do you call it when someone isn't sure they believe in God? There's a word for that.
Well, there's agnostic, I think, which is not
Agnostic.
agnostic. Yeah.
I was an agnostic for a
Yeah.
while. But I don't think I ever was. I think I was just my faith in God is what drives me and keeps me sane and helps me cope, and keeps me humble, keeps me courageous, keeps me loving. And that's the biggest gift she left me. So when I watch her story, it just reminds me of that. Her incredible courage, even in the face of what she was going through, which was devastating. And it's devastating to so many people. Alzheimer's is a huge problem. And I think also what I wanted to show in her story, and I think we achieved, is that so many people forget the person behind the Alzheimer's. They just become this frail person with the disease who needs constant help. And my mom never wanted to be seen that way, even though she did need a lot of help. Um, so I really wanted to remind people these are humans who had and still have impact on other people around them and in the world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. These are still real people going through great, great suffering, and they have not lost their capacity to feel that suffering, and they have to endure
Right.
it. And it's just merciless. And at one point, your mom asks, where are you, God? To that extent, are you listening? Can you hear me? And I
Right.
know we all can relate to a time in our life where the suffering has been more than we can bear. And we ask,
Absolutely.
how is this happening? Is there anybody out there? How do you think your mom reconciled that for herself?
I think that she never lost her faith. Um, it- that's the thing. I think the reason I can't answer the question, that's the thing that grieves me the most, is that I could not go to that place where my mother was and help her in her suffering because I couldn't share it. What she was experiencing was something so isolating and unique is not the right word, but I couldn't share it. I didn't know what that was like to watch yourself, your own mind begin to disintegrate in a way and to lose all the abilities she's my mom in the film. What you see is this very vulnerable, and she is kind of frail in the picture, and it's so heartbreaking for me to see because you get a glimpse of who she was in that earlier video from the
Yes,
film where I'm
yes.
interviewing her. That was my mom, very confident, powerful. She walked into a room like this,
Hmm.
and now she's slumped and she's unsure of herself. And I totally got away from the question. Oh, how do
No,
I?
how do you think she reconciled
Yeah,
keeping faith amidst, such overwhelming suffering? I mean, that is
I
really,
just I think that her love for God was
that's it.
so central to her. There's
Yeah,
no way she could lose it.
yeah,
She
yeah,
could just
yeah,
question it,
yeah,
and we all will question it.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
life.
yeah. But that's it. You nailed it, and it's, from being a yogi is what I would say I, subscribe to. The question is, you know, well, one of the fundamental things that, from a Buddhist perspective or Hindu perspective is the ego and the attachments of the ego.
Yeah,
So here we are, and we are these strong, vibrant characters, and we associate ourselves with our power, our identities, and then slowly we reduce to old age. And then some even more so reduced to senility and this,
right,
incontinence, right? I mean, and the
right.
whatever we've attached ourselves to, as some sort of flag and stake in the ground, it's going away. It's gone. There's that
Yeah,
I don't know if it's Shelley or Keats, Ozymandias, the poem. There's
yeah,
right, somebody picks up a stone and, I am the great Ozymandias, blah blah. There's nothing around. It's a desert. It's just a little broken stone that's left.
right.
So that's kind of the end for all of us in this human form, and you know, we can relate to that happening. And I think in your mother's case, it was just such an extreme, such rapid, and such a, she was such a powerful character.
Yeah, but your comment makes me think two things. One, I fully believe that we are put on this earth to help others in any way we can, to learn to release our egos and be of help to others. But then as we get older and we start losing those abilities, it is a grievous process. But I feel like it's also a way of helping us. Okay, it's time to let go of that now because you're coming back to God. It's time to go back to God now. So let go of those things. Um, but also, all the things my mom did are not gone. She still achieved them. They're still there. They're still affecting the people that who are still living today that
And
she
generations forward.
helped.
Yeah,
Right. Myself,
yeah.
my nieces, my nephew, my brothers, all of us. So it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It's just her that went away,
Right.
which is the hardest part.
Or the physical
The
thing.
physical, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Since making the movie, how have you personally changed?
Oh, hmm. I think my mom was so selfless. She was the most selfless person I knew. And that just astounded me a lot of time because um, I was not. I was very much um, goal oriented and achievement oriented in the way that I wanted people to see my success. I was very ego driven. And I'm learning every day to let go of that bit by bit and just be a humbler person. And rather than trying to achieve something with my work, um, enjoy the process. And uh, somehow, in enjoying the process, I see that my work actually does affect others much better
Yeah.
and much more powerfully than if I'm always trying to control it,
Yeah.
from up here.
Yeah.
Instead, be inside of the work and
Yeah.
just let it be.
Yeah.
That all
That's
sounded,
beautiful. Beautiful. Sounded beautiful. No, I heard you because that's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm hearing prioritizing being over doing. And
yeah.
you're present and the work is affected by it. Vicki Speegle doing the work in and out. Filmmaker. The film is In the Night I Remember Your Name. A really beautiful tribute. It's on PBS. We'll throw out the link. Thank you for being on the show. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure meeting you too.
Thanks, Vicki. Beautiful wave. All right, everybody. We're out on Play It Forward.